In this monograph, we will learn a little more about olive oil, the great treasure of the Mediterranean diet. Wild olives probably originated in ancient Persia and Mesopotamia around 4000 BC and from there spread throughout the Mediterranean basin. Olive cultivation and oil production is considered to have started in ancient Egypt. The oldest olive oil amphora that has been found dates back to 3500 BC. Between 1450 and 1150 BC, olive oil entered its golden age with the Greeks, who used it as food, fuel, skin lotion, contraceptive, detergent, preservative, pesticide, perfume, and ornament. Later, when Greek colonies were established in other parts of the Mediterranean, olive cultivation was introduced in places like Spain. Between 27 BC and 476 AD, olive cultivation spread throughout the Roman Empire. The Romans were the first to use the press for oil production. Olive cultivation was introduced in America in the 16th century. Spanish missionaries brought oil production to California. In the 1960s, soybean and seed oil producers, as well as producers of hydrogenated fats, heavily promoted their products while discrediting olive oil. The idea that only polyunsaturated fatty acids were healthy and economic interests were probably behind this discrediting. Since 1975, and thanks to scientific studies, olive oil has been presented as a product whose properties can have a very beneficial role for health. At present, Spain is by far the world's leading producer of olives. It is followed by countries of the Mediterranean basin such as Italy, Portugal, Morocco, and Turkey. Spain's current production is around 9 million tons of olives per year. Regarding olive oil consumption in the world, the truth is that it is quite low and much lower than palm oil consumption, which is the most consumed oil, or soybean oil consumption, which is the second most consumed oil. Other oils such as sunflower oil, palm kernel oil, peanut oil, cottonseed oil, or coconut oil also have a higher worldwide consumption than olive oil. The production of olive oil consists of the harvesting of the olives, transporting them to the mill, reception at the mill, washing of the olives, milling and beating of the olives, extraction of the oil, decanting and centrifugation of the oil to eliminate impurities, filtration, storage, and bottling. From this process, we obtain the virgin olive oil, which is the juice of the olives, and that preserves the flavor, the aroma, the vitamins, and the nutrients of the fruit. Different types of oil can be obtained from olives. As we have just seen, from squeezing the olives, we obtain their juice, which is virgin olive oil. Virgin olive oil can be extra, which is the highest quality and is characterized by having an acidity of less than 0.8% and an irreproachable taste and smell. And virgin olive oil without the extra label, which is the second in quality and is characterized by having an acidity lower than 2% and small sensory defects. Acidity is a very important indicator of the quality of olive oil. The main component of olive oil are lipids called triglycerides, which are made up of a glycerol and 3 fatty acids, and which in olive oil are mainly oleic acid. In a quality oil, oleic acid is part of the triglycerides. If an olive oil is not produced under optimal conditions, for example because the olives are too ripe when harvested or because they have not been transported or stored at the right temperature, the triglycerides can break down and release the oleic acid. The acidity of an olive oil measures the amount of oleic acid that has been released from the triglycerides and is therefore an indicator of quality. A third type of oil also obtained from olives is the lampenti olive oil, which is called like this because it was formerly used as fuel for oil lamps. This oil has many defects and cannot be marketed for human consumption. In order to be marketed, it must first go through a refining process involving physical and chemical processes, and then it must be blended with virgin or extra virgin olive oil. After refining and blending, olive oil composed of refined oil and virgin olive oil is obtained and can be marketed as long as the label indicates that it is refined and the blend of oils it contains. From the olive pumice, which is the byproduct of the olive mill that is generated after the extraction of olive oil, oil can also be obtained, which is called crude pumice oil. This oil, as l'empente oil, cannot be marketed for human consumption unless it is first refined and then blended with virgin and/or extra virgin olive oil. Once refined and blended, pumice oil can be marketed as pumice oil composed of refined oil and virgin olive oil. It is important to note that during the refining process, the oil loses many nutrients. It is therefore very important to know exactly which olive oil we are buying, and for this purpose, it is essential to read the product label in detail. According to European Commission regulations, the following information must appear on the label of olive oil: the country of origin, the designation of origin if there is one, which may be protected designation of origin or protected geographical designation, the category of the oil, extra virgin olive oil, olive oil composed of refined olive oil and virgin olive oil, or pumice oil, and the optimal date for consumption. The characteristics of olive oil can be perceived mainly by three of our senses: sight, smell, and taste. Sight allows us to appreciate the color of the oil, which can range from intense green to brown through a wide range of yellows. The color of olive oil depends on the type of olives used for its production and also on their state of ripeness. In general, less ripe olives are greener and ripe olives are browner. Oil tasters consider that the color of the oil should not be taken into account to evaluate it, and in fact the tastings are carried out blind, that is without seeing the product. What does seem important in order to evaluate the olive oil is that the tasting be carried out at a temperature of 28 degrees centigrade. Through the sense of smell, it is possible to appreciate the fruitiness, which consists of the set of olfactory sensations characteristic of olive oil perceived directly and/or retronasally. Among the aromas that can be appreciated in extra virgin olive oil are olive, nuts, herb, aromatic herbs, tomato, fig, artichoke, apple, or banana. The oil is also evaluated through taste. To do this, it should be tasted for about 3 to 4 seconds with the mouth closed and then suck in air several times to appreciate all the flavors that may include tastes like bitter, sweet, spicy, or harsh astringent. In the mouth, we can also evaluate the density of the oil. The recommended dose of extra virgin olive oil for healthy adults is between 20 and 40 milliliters per day, which is equivalent to between 1 and 2 tablespoons per day and represents between 7 and 14 liters per person per year. In countries of the Mediterranean basin such as Greece, Italy, or Spain, these doses are consumed, while in other countries such as the United Kingdom or the United States, consumption is much lower. 98% of olive oil is made up of fatty acids. 11% of these fatty acids are polyunsaturated, 17% saturated, and 71% monounsaturated. And by far the most abundant monounsaturated fatty acid is oleic acid. The presence in olive oil of a much higher amount of monounsaturated fatty acids than saturated fatty acids is one of the most important reasons why olive oil is very beneficial to health. Monounsaturated fatty acids, and in particular oleic acid, help produce low-density lipoproteins, popularly known as bad cholesterol, while saturated fatty acids increase them. These low-density lipoproteins are responsible for distributing cholesterol in blood vessels, organs, and tissues. However, monounsaturated fatty acids do not affect high-density lipoproteins or good cholesterol, while saturated fatty acids reduce them. High-density lipoproteins are responsible for collecting excess cholesterol in blood vessels, organs, and tissues, and carrying it to the liver, where it is eliminated through bile. Cells and low-density lipoproteins, or bad cholesterol, circulate in the blood vessels. If the amount of these lipoproteins increases, for example as a consequence of an unhealthy diet in which the main source of lipids are foods rich in saturated fatty acids, such as butter or lard, these may begin to adhere to the walls of the blood vessels. If the amount of these lipoproteins increases even further, they may continue to adhere and by releasing the cholesterol they carry, can block the blood vessel and impede blood circulation. This blockage is known by the general name of atherosclerosis, and when it occurs in the arteries, it is known as arteriosclerosis. If the blockage occurs in the heart, we can have a heart attack. If it occurs in the brain, a stroke, and if it occurs in a leg, a thrombus. High-density lipoproteins, or good cholesterol, can reverse this situation. These lipoproteins, which leave the liver empty, can adhere to cholesterol that blocks the blood vessel and absorb it, converting them into full or cholesterol-loaded high-density lipoproteins. If the amount of empty high-density lipoproteins is high, for example thanks to a healthy diet in which the main source of lipids is olive oil, these can adhere to all the cholesterol blocking the vessel and absorb it. Once the high-density lipoproteins are full, they return to the liver, where they release cholesterol that is eliminated through bile, and thus they are able to unblock the blood vessel. Olive oil also contains many more monounsaturated fatty acids than polyunsaturated fatty acids. Monounsaturated fatty acids are more resistant to heat than polyunsaturated fatty acids, which is why olive oil is more stable in frying than seed oils rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids. However, in order for olive oil to keep its properties and not generate toxic substances, it should not be heated above 193 degrees Celsius. The ideal temperature for cooking with olive oil should be between 176 and 193 degrees Celsius. It is important to note that the more antioxidants the olive oil has, the more stable it is to heat. Extra virgin olive oil has the most antioxidants and is therefore the most recommended for cooking. Between 0.5 and 1% of olive oil is squalene. Squalene is a substance that helps protect and regenerate the skin barrier, helps maintain the oxygen supply, and helps to retain water better and prevent dehydration. Squalene is the reason for the dermatological properties attributed to olive oil. The main vitamins present in olive oil are vitamins E and K. Between 20 and 40 milliliters of olive oil, which is the recommended daily dose, contain between 2.75 and 5.5 milligrams of vitamin E and between 0.0185 and 0.037 milligrams of vitamin K. These doses are lower than the recommended doses, which are 15 milligrams daily for vitamin E and 0.12 for vitamin K. So the consumption of extra virgin olive oil, although it is a source of these vitamins, is not sufficient to meet the daily needs. Therefore, other foods rich in these vitamins should be ingested or taken as supplements. Vitamin E has an important neuroprotective function against oxidative stress, while vitamin K plays a very important role in blood coagulation. Olive oil is also rich in antioxidants called polyphenols. Some of the polyphenols present in olive oil are hydroxytyrosol, tyrosol, oleuropein, oleacein, caffeic acid, ferulic acid, among others. From our point of view, hydroxytyrosol is one of the most interesting antioxidants because it is one of the most potent known. Here you can see the antioxidant capacity of hydroxytyrosol compared with the capacity of other antioxidants such as epigallocatechin from green tea or ascorbic acid from vitamin C. In addition, hydroxytyrosol can easily cross the blood-brain barrier and is therefore an important neuroprotectant, that is, it is able to protect neurons against oxidative stress. A daily intake of 25 milligrams of hydroxytyrosol is recommended to protect neurons. The recommended daily intake of extra virgin olive oil provides between 4.68 and 9.37 milligrams of hydroxytyrosol. This is less than the recommended amount. Therefore, to consume the recommended dose of hydroxytyrosol without consuming an excessive oil, it is best to take it as a supplement. Olive oil may contain between 800 and 2,400 milligrams of sterols per kilogram of oil. Sterols resemble cholesterol and act by interfering with the absorption of cholesterol in the intestine and thus lowering the concentration of cholesterol in the blood. Olive oil also contains minerals such as calcium, iron, potassium, sodium, zinc, and manganese. And finally, olive oil also contains pigments, chlorophyll pigments that give it green tones, and carotenoid pigments that give it yellow and orange tones. Olive oil is a food with great nutritional value since, as we have just seen, its composition is very rich in nutrients. Olive oil is also considered a beneficial food to prevent cardiovascular diseases because it contains oleic acid that reduces low-density lipoproteins, or bad cholesterol, and therefore the accumulation of cholesterol in the body, sterols that reduce the absorption of cholesterol in the intestine by competing with it, and also vitamins and antioxidants that reduce the formation of atheromatous plaques. The consumption of extra virgin olive oil may also be beneficial for people affected by multiple sclerosis. It is believed that the oleic acid present in this type of oil could have an anti-inflammatory effect, and vitamins and antioxidants could have a neuroprotective effect. Also, as we have just mentioned, extra virgin olive oil reduces the risk of suffering from cardiovascular diseases that can be comorbidities in people affected by MS, that is, diseases that if they occur at the same time can interact with it and worsen its evolution. Therefore, our recommendation for people affected by MS is that extra virgin olive oil be the main source of lipids.